Have you ever told yourself, I'm fine. Life's fine. This is just how life is. Or now's not really the right time to make a change. But deep down, you know that something isn't right. Maybe you've become stagnant or you've hit a plateau, but things aren't quite bad enough to blow it all up or to run away, yet you don't feel completely alive either. So you stay and you keep things exactly the same routine, same regiment, same job, same significant other. You stay because it's familiar, because it's safe, but it's not safe. That's the thing. We're talking about what costs you when you stay the same, the cost of staying the same. And this is not just a future cost. This is not just a debt that you'll have to pay in 50 years, though you will. It is a debt you will have to pay every single day because staying safe and staying the same is not free. And most people don't realize it until decades have gone by. So let's talk about the illusion of staying safe. Welcome to the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast, where you master your mind and coach your own comeback. You are the hero, you are the guide, and you will learn to architect your life from the inside. I'm your host, Britannia Stowe, joined by my sister and co-host, Annika Wilder. Enjoy the show. When we think of change, we often associate change with the risk, right? New job, risk. Starting a new relationship, risk. Starting over, moving, risk. Having a baby, risk. But what if the bigger risk is actually not taking those leaps of faith? Because when you stay the same, you are not growing, you are not evolving, and you're not expanding into the person you are meant to be. See, I believe that this human existence that we are all experiencing is because we are spiritual beings sent to the University of Earth to gain experience, to gain an education of sorts. And to gain that education, we have to constantly be learning. To learn, you have to be constantly trying new things, evolving, stepping out of your comfort zone. And so if you are not doing that, then you are not living life to the fullest. You're just maintaining. And maintaining may feel stable, but over time it becomes stagnation. And if you are not progressing, you are degressing. It's, if you lift weights, you would know this, that you have to constantly be switching up your workouts. You have to, be not just adding more weight, but also maybe doing Pilates instead of yoga, doing free weights instead of a group class. And to do that allows your brain to switch up, not just your body, but allows you to expand. And you will grow physically when you do this. Your mind is the exact same way. If you are constantly doing the exact same thing, then you will actually start to lose that flexibility of self. You'll lose your adaptability. You'll lose the ability to learn and to grow and expand because you'll kind of harden, lose that neuroplasticity. So think about it. Nothing in nature stays the same, right? The trees go through all the seasons. They bud and they grow and they have leaves and then they have flowers and then it's harvest time and then it's winter time and they're constantly changing. Our weather from day to day, sometimes hour to hour if you live in Colorado, changes. Nothing stays the same. Everything is either growing or dying. There is no neutral. So when you say, I'm just going to stay where I am, I like things the way they are. You're not just staying. I'm sorry, but a part of you is dying. You're slowly drifting backward. The real cost is not always so obvious in the moment, right? If you look at your life and you've had the same job and you live in the same house and you wake up at the same time. Don't get me wrong, routines are wonderful and we need them. But if you choose to not, go out with your friends one night, even though you want to go to bed, that actually keeps you stuck. You think, no, it's keeping me safe. My routine's really important. And again, it is. But allowing yourself to maybe go on a trip where you wouldn't normally go, or take a job that is slightly different, because you should be constantly evolving and growing. It's, it's subtle if you stay the same. It's subtle because you don't notice it right away. It's easy to get kind of stuck in that routine, but it does cost you your potential. Every time you don't take a step forward, you delay your life, not just your life as it is, but the life you could be living. You are actually destroying the possibilities that are out there in the future. Have you ever thought that there's these like parallel versions of you? And, one version, got married young, and one version was an athlete, another version was an actress. And, you can kind of imagine where your life would go. Well, the more you stay the same and you get stuck in this groove and this rut, and you're just living the same life day after day, week after week, month, year after year, you are actually killing those future possibilities. And over time, those like postponed dreams of becoming an actress or a writer or whatever it might be slowly dies. You are actually killing, I know this is intense, but you are actually killing a version of you if you choose to stay the same. It also costs you your confidence. Confidence doesn't come from thinking, it comes from action. So when you stay stuck, you stop trusting yourself. You stop trusting that you're going to show up. You stop believing that you have the ability to change, that you can do new things. And you reinforce the idea that this is just who I am. I'm sorry, but if you are, 25, 35, 45, and you think that you have peaked and this is just exactly where you're supposed to be, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You are just wrong, because there's so much more. And a lot of us limit ourselves due to fear. But I would rather you fear staying the same than fear making the change. It also costs you your energy. This is one thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about or think about, but staying in a life that doesn't align with you is exhausting. Have you ever been in a job and every day you are just so tired when you get home? Not just because of the long hours, but it's because a part of you is dying because you're staying somewhere where you're not meant to be. It's physically, emotionally, and spiritually exhausting because a part of you is saying, this isn't it. This is not the life I'm supposed to be living. And then the other part of you is like, shh, be quiet. We're just going to stay here. We're just going to stay safe. And ignoring that actually takes energy. I had a friend who struggled with kind of like a narcolepsy. He was falling asleep all the time. And he went to doctors and they did sleep studies and they did breathing studies and they did hormone tests and they did every single test that you could possibly think of. And there was nothing wrong with him. There was nothing physically or chemically wrong with him. And there's no reason why he would be falling asleep all the time. But I knew things about this person. He had some deep secrets, and he did not allow himself to face those versions of himself. He had evolved past the mask he was putting out to the world. And I believe it is that, suffocating that part of you that made him so tired all the time. It takes energy. And so, if there's a part of you that is saying, hey, this isn't right, and you're coming home tired and you're like, but I'm just too tired to make a change. Well, I'm telling you, it's just going to get worse. It costs time. This is one that, you can't get back, folks. All right. Every minute moves forward, every hour, every day. And you're never going to get this moment back in life. We can rebuild money And we can rebuild relationships. I know some relationships might break off and they're not meant to be, but there's a lot of things you can rebuild your body, like after having a baby. You can rebuild your life in so many ways, but what you can't do is rebuild time. So think of that. Think of what it is costing you. It is costing you time. And every year that you stay the same, every year you didn't spend evolving and growing and challenging yourself is another year wasted. So let's summarize, okay? It costs you your potential, your future self. It costs your confidence, your ability to adapt and change. It costs your energy and it costs your time if you choose to stay the same because it's safe, right? So why do we stay the same? If we know this, and I don't think I'm always bringing up some novel idea here. I think a lot of what we talk about are things you guys already know, right? Because it's about being your own life coach. These are things that you know are inside of you that you think about all the time, yet we don't do anything about it. So why do we stay the same? You could probably tell me because it's scary, right? Because we fear the unknown. We don't know what's on the other side. We don't know what's going to happen. So we choose what we know versus what we don't know. But here's the other thing. Just because you stay doesn't mean it's going to be the same. You could die in a car accident. You could be paralyzed. The stock market could crash and you lose all of your savings. There could be things out of your control that happen. And if you try really, really hard to stay the same, I'm telling you, the universe will shake you and make sure you don't stay the same. So you can either evolve intentionally or get pushed in a direction you don't want to go. Also, we stay the same because of this like identity attachment. We get attached to who we have been, these versions of ourselves that maybe we love and maybe we've worked so hard. We've worked so hard to love this version of ourselves. And we've always been this person. And changing, even for the good, may feel like you're losing a version of yourself. I know that as I continue to grow in my self-help journey, I was not just afraid of losing, this version of myself, but I also thought about that Britannia and what hers were and what her job was. And I didn't want to have to say goodbye to that job or those friends and my identity. And so for a long time, I stayed stuck because I knew I was going to have to say goodbye to a lot. And I wasted a lot of time, a lot of time. There's comfort in familiar pain. Okay. So maybe your job does suck and you come home drained every day and it is awful. And you're not negotiating that. You're like, absolutely, I hate my job. My life is kind of rough, but this is a known pain. It's a known quality. And I'd rather know the pain than seek the unknown and not know what that pain is going to look like. And so sometimes we stay in situations that aren't good because they're predictable. I mean, I know that I stayed in a very unhealthy relationship, for many reasons, but part of it was I could compartmentalize and I knew that pain, I knew that struggle. And so I could just let it live in that box and I would navigate everything else outside of it. And so we do this because we know how it feels, we know how to navigate it, but it's not safer. We think it is, but it's not. And then we often just wait for the right time. We tell ourselves, listen, yeah, job sucks, life is not good, but it's not the right time. Maybe it's not the right time because your spouse just, lost a job or had a baby, or maybe it's because you're about to move and you're like, I can't make another change. But actually, did you know it's easier to stack those changes? So if you are, it seems so unsettling. And I know this, I've been there. But if you are having a baby and you're moving to a new place and you're getting a new job, it's actually easier to handle all of those changes at once than holding tightly onto something you refuse to change because by making one change, you've now expanded yourself and made yourself more adaptable and more open to opportunity. And by doing that, you can actually be more successful in your changes than if you go, I'm just going to change this one area. Like maybe I'll eat a little bit healthier, but my job I hate, I'm not going to leave. And so I'm encouraging you that I know that it might seem scary, but you can actually stack those changes and it can be incredibly freeing. So when the moment comes, when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change, this is your turning point. I'm going to say that again. When the pain of staying the same becomes greater than your fear of change, this is when you change. And maybe when you listen to this podcast, you're like, ooh, yes, something's coming up for me. This feels like where I am at. It doesn't always look dramatic. It's not always this like, I'm going to burn everything down and start again, right? It doesn't always have to be loud, but you can feel it. And your body, your subconscious will even try to push you in that direction. Sometimes it's quiet, and it could be as simple as you every day saying, I just can't keep doing this. I just can't keep doing this. Or maybe you find yourself wondering every day, there's got to be more to life. There's got to be more than this. This moment is powerful. This is your sign. If you're looking for a sign, here it is, folks. Here is your sign because it's the beginning of awareness. The awareness that not just that you need to make a change, but that change is already starting. There's already little shifts happening for you, in you. So, what does change actually require? It doesn't require that full overhaul of you got to get rid of everything and cut everyone out and start all over. It can be small, consistent decisions. So, if you do hate your job, I get the job market is really tough. I've actually been looking for some more work as I am, navigating being a mom and trying to figure out, where I want to grow my business. I'm looking for more work. That doesn't mean I quit what I'm doing or, all of a sudden I just leave an industry altogether. I had a friend who was a pharmacist and she was feeling really burnt out about retail pharmacy. And then she learned there's more to life than retail pharmacy. There's more to pharmacy. You could work for an insurance company. You could do long-term care. You can do compounding. There's all these different things inside. So don't feel like it has to be this complete overhaul. You don't have to move across the country. You could even just stay in your apartment. Maybe it's not feeling right, but your lease isn't up yet. So you could just start looking for a new place, start to visualize what that looks like for you. And you don't have to reinvent your identity overnight, start going by a new name and dressing differently. It does not have to be that intense. You just need to stop choosing the same patterns. A pattern for me when things are uncomfortable. And when I know I need to make a change, I will get really emotional and I can shame spiral a little bit. Like, I should have seen this coming. And how did I let it go this far? Or, how is this impacting my family? And I'll just kind of get into this like almost depressive spiral. And I notice this about myself. And so when those feelings start to come up, instead of wanting to, run away like an older version of me would and get rid of everything and start all over, I just go, okay, you need to reset. What needs to change? And that could be as simple as a schedule shift, right? Maybe it isn't ready to quit your job. Maybe you work out at night and you're going to start working out in the morning. Maybe you're going to start hanging out with your friends at yoga classes instead of bars, right? There could be these subtle little things and change will start to happen when you do the little things. You know, I I know it can be very invigorating to do something very big, dramatic, like, getting rid of everything. And I used to do this every time I would move. I would sell what I could within like a day. If it didn't sell, I would literally put a sign on my apartment door saying free stuff, come in, get it. And I would give away thousands of dollars worth of stuff because I just wanted it gone. And I would make sure everything that I was bringing could just fit in my car. And back then it was a really small car. And I would just get rid of it all because I felt like I just needed this fresh start. But that's expensive. And the older you get and the nicer things you get, you can't just give it all away or sell it all, right? You could, but that could actually be more damaging because you might be like, "Oh, I actually really love that record player. Why did I get rid of that?" So start by starting. Trying something new, a shift in schedule, a shift in boundary, one step forward. Remember, it's the little things you do every day, not the thing you do once a year that creates real change. So, in our Coach Yourself segment, I just want you to pause and ask yourself, where in my life am I staying the same? Is it your workout, your diet? Is it your relationships, your social life? Is it your career? Is it your finances, your budget? Is it your creativity or your self expression? Where is one area that you have not really focused on? Maybe you've neglected. It doesn't always have to be this glaring, like, oh my gosh, this is awful. But maybe it's something you've just been kind of not dealing with. So, where in your life have you been staying the same? And think about, have I outgrown this? I used to collect Care Bears, and I would keep them because I had so many of them, and my parents would give them to me even in my 20s. And I could not let them go because I was a person who collected Care Bears. And then I realized having to store them because I wasn't going to keep them out, having to store them constantly, having to like move them. They were taking up space. I've outgrown Care Bears. I'm sorry, Mom. I outgrew Care Bears. And so I decided to donate them. I would not just take them to the thrift store, but I actually gave them to like my friends' kids. And it was like, my neighbors' kids, like who would appreciate these? And so it can also be this, service led and cathartic experience. If you have things that you no longer need in your life that are maybe keeping you stuck, that you've outgrown, or it could be as simple as, you know, talking to a friend and saying, hey, like, this part of my life isn't working for me anymore. I think I need to make some changes. And it could be your job, could be a relationship, it could be a habit, it could be a mindset. It could be the location of your job or the location of your business, right? So, ask yourself, where have I outgrown? And this does not mean you have not done a good job, right? You've grown. You've grown. This is worth celebrating. It no longer fits. It no longer fits because you have grown, even if it doesn't feel that way. If you're like, wow, I used to really enjoy this one thing and now I don't anymore, that might make you feel some kind of way, but it isn't a negative. It's actually a positive because we're meant to evolve. You ever see that meme of a caterpillar and a butterfly? And the caterpillar says to the butterfly, you've changed. And the butterfly says, we're supposed to, right? So ask yourself, this space in your life, what is it costing me? Not on the surface level, but go deeper. Is it costing your peace, your confidence, your growth, your time, your energy? Ask yourself, what is the real cost? Because I guarantee whatever it is costing today will compound. It's like compounding interest, friends. If it is costing you energy today, it will cost you 10 times the amount in a couple of years. If it's costing you your peace of mind, you may not have peace of mind in a couple of years if you don't make a change. So then ask yourself, what would happen if I did? We already know what will happen if we don't, right? If you're not progressing, you're degressing. So what would happen if I made a small change? Let's live in that like wonder. Let's explore that. Let us feel it in our body. Maybe you can even smell the smells of what that would look like for you, right? It doesn't have to be everything all at once, but allow yourself to ask in this one space, where can I make a change? What's the change I can make? And what would that feel like? Staying the same is a decision. Okay, friends, staying the same is a decision. A lot of people think if I don't make a decision, if I stay right here, then I'm going to be okay. But the truth is, not making a decision is a decision. It is. And even if it doesn't feel like one, you feel like you're buying time, you're not. Time is ticking by. And every day you choose it, you're also choosing the cost that comes with it. But the good news is you can choose differently today, right now, in this moment, as you're listening to this podcast. You can actually make a change. You can make a change at any moment. You could just decide. Change doesn't have to take years. It can happen right now, in an instant, in a blink of an eye. You can decide right here, right now. I am no longer going to waste my potential. I am no longer going to restrict my confidence or myself. I'm no longer going to waste my energy. I'm going to make a change right here. And you don't need permission and you don't need perfect timing. You just need to decide I'm no longer available for the life that doesn't align with me and who I am becoming. I'm no longer available. That version of me doesn't exist. I'm not going to fall back into those patterns because growth isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are. Friends, that's all I want for you, is to help you be more of who you are. I get it. Life is scary. And in these uncertain times, it can be intimidating to leave something that feels so safe. But if you do not take a risk, there is no reward. And I promise you, there is a bigger cost down the line. So please, trust yourself. You got this, and take the next step. This has been another episode of the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, subscribe and share the love. And remember the teachings of Lao Tzu. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Until next time, trust yourself. Take the wisdom, take the breath, and take the next step.